Raz, dwa, three. Hello, guys. Welcome to our podcast, Knowledge Empowers. Here's with you, Katarina, aka Kat. Then we have Maciej, aka Kovac.
Hello.
And we have Barbara, aka Barush.
Hello.
So we have prepared today a topic called resilience. And our expert on resilience is Kovac. Kovac, the stage is yours.
Yay! Yeah. Yuppie.
Guys, just so you are fully aware, we do shoot this at 8 a.m. So that's as high our energy goes to.
Sure, it's because of that. Anyway, so I would start with the first question for you, girls, ladies, I guess. What do you consider resilience? How would you define resilience?
Resilience, ability to resist.
Okay. Sure.
some negative things.
Okay.
Like stress.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Katka, what do you think?
That just reminded me also, I don't know why, but the ability to say no.
Could be. It could be a part of it. Anything
but it's
else?
More, for me, it's also connected to stress.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you are able to practice something on a longer term, you are then able to withhold the stress on such an impact that it could have if you would not build the resilience.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I think it's also connected to emotional intelligence, like being aware that you actually need to be resilient at the moment.
Sure. I think that, well, from what I know, everybody is in some way resilient and has some resilient strategies. So it is connected to both saying no, it's a strategy as well. And being the emotional intelligence is also part of it, part of being resilient, because you know how to handle your emotions. But let's put it at the official definition, let's say, is the capacity to recover quickly from any difficulties, how to overcome struggles, difficulties. Can you recall any difficulty which you recently overcame? Any sort of struggle? Not that we are living one right now, but you know, any sort of it. And if so, how did you overcome it?
Maybe, so let's even take really this situation. For those who are listening, we talk about COVID.
I was thinking we are talking about mornings, but okay.
Yeah. My husband's boss just said that if he wants to come to office, that she will write him a paper. And he was like, what paper? And she goes, haven't you heard there are new rules out there that now even more strict? And right now, nothing, whenever I open the newspapers, only what you read is what we are not allowed to do, or the list just gets bigger of what we are not allowed to do. And I literally feel like a prisoner.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel we have the most competent government, that even the previous government we had, they at least know or knew how to steal the money from the state. But this government doesn't even know how to steal the money from the state, nor even like that non-competent. That's what I even mean by that. And I know that I am like in this house and I have this garden, etc. But still, like hearing it, listening to it, it just makes me angry. But what I try to do is I try not to read it. But the best part is like we literally go on a walk with our puppy and we talk through it, and then we make a closure of, are we able to influence it? Yes, no. Are we okay? Yes, no. And literally do like a retrospective on ourselves, like, do we have job? Do we have food to put in our bellies. Are we okay? We exercise, etc. And sort of summarize it that we are still okay, everything is okay. Let's just ignore that part. We just need to survive and wait until whatever will comes, and maybe for the summer when that helps as well. And then we come back and we continue with the work, but in a much calmer state.
Okay. What about you, Baruch? Any recent difficulty which you have overcome? And if so,
I'm
how?
not sure if I would call it difficulty, but let's say like a time when I thought I must be resilient was like I'm currently learning to drive, and like of course it's a stressful time for anyone, I guess. What upset me last time was I actually our instructor is quite nice, but at the same time, like he went through some difficult personal time recently, and it shows like when we go together in a car, and sometimes he doesn't have enough patience. So I feel like there is a trust issues. Like when I say something is not working, or that the cars are old and I don't think they are working the way they should. I think he just doesn't believe me. He just thinks like, hey, like you are sitting in a car for a second time in your life, and like you just don't know how to drive, and that's the problem. So it's sometimes, and there are more cases, like more situations like this with him, like when I say I have some problem and he just like either ignores it or says like, no, that's not true, or cannot be true. So I really have to be very patient. I'm not sure if I actually overcame it. I'm not sure, like, how would you overcome this kind of situation? Like, what would be a definition of overcoming the situation?
I would first, I will turn it back to you as a question. So, how do you deal with the situation? How do you deal with the situation and with the emotions you have at that moment and afterwards?
I try to be very, very patient. And I understand, like, he has his own issues, right? That are so strong that they actually transpire to work. So I try to be understanding, but at the same time, I expect certain level of professionality. And so I try to be calm. I try not to raise the voice, although I'm not always successful at that. But I'm not really shouting, right? So I'm just sometimes like,
you can raise a voice.
I can be like this. No, I did that. I didn't do that. So like if somebody upsets me, like I'm not that patient as usual. Okay, so so at this time, like honestly, I don't like to do that. But it's like when I'm full of emotions, like maybe one day we'll talk about like how to manage emotions. But this time, like I'm having harder time to control myself, but I try not to look upset because I know it will just escalate, right? So, and another thing is like sometimes I try to like show what I mean, what's bothering me, and he just will ignore it because I think in his mind it is like, okay, you know nothing, and there is no reason why I should argue with you. So I don't really get that feeling that I'm being taught new things because he doesn't say things, right? So what I'm trying to do is just like keep calm, and if I feel like he ignores me, I try to ask questions in a calm manner.
Yeah. So from what I heard,
before you answer, go on.
I wasn't going to.
But even or you would give her coaching questions. I'm just wondering, when you build your resilience, in Baruch's case, this is a thing she pays them, right? She pays them to teach her how to drive. So in that case, she's the customer.
Yeah.
Right? And yet she's behaving, or the way you talk about your emotions, etc., like you need to be the one accommodating to them and not vice versa. Like the way I would deal, I would just go to the owner of the car school and I would either ask for a new trainer to switch or for compensation or something. And another thing is, should you deal with the lectors' emotions, etc., when you are paying for the service? I know it shows that Baruch EQ is much higher compared to the teacher, but she's paying for a service and she should get that service.
Sure, that's a different topic, I would say, but it has nothing to do with your personal resilience. I mean, it can be that a rock falls, the asteroid falls on your house. That's nothing. So what resilience is about overcoming the challenges. So it's not about how you deal with the situation. It's how about you deal with your internal life, how you overcome the challenge. So even going to somebody and telling him is a way how to overcome the challenge.
So it's not like solving. It's not like solving a solution, but it's literally your internal.
How you emotionally and physically deal with the situation, so that you can accept it or somehow overcome it. So that's the resilience. That's the great, or I don't know, what other words are there for it. And what you described, Katka, there was something like what you were describing what you can control, what you can't control, that you go for a walk, so that there's some physical exercise, that you talk about it with your hobby, so there is another social aspect. The same goes for Baruch, that you are trying to understand him from looking from his point of view. So that's again some sort of a mental exercise, the emotional exercise you are doing that. And you described the 4 categories there are for the resilience, which Jane McGonigal is doing. She has the application SuperBetter, and you train 4 categories of resilience: physical resilience, mental resilience, emotional one, and social resilience. And each of these has the different aspects which you were talking about. The physical exercise, it's not just about training, going for a walk, but also eating healthy, sleeping healthy. The mental is the emotional intelligence. Emotional is something similar, but again, more targeting about what you're, for example, grateful for. So that's the emotional intelligence. And the social is talking with somebody like we are doing right now. That you, for example, Baruch, you told us about the school how your what is it lecture works. So you told us about it. That's already sharing with us, and you are sharing this burden with us. So that's again the social resilience. Knowing about these 4 categories. Yes.
And does it? So you spoke about these 4 areas, and we also know that when you have certain emotions, it also wakes up the specific hormones in your body. Like if you're angry, right? So adrenaline, and if you are aware of which emotion wakes up which hormone. And then you realize, okay, until I'm able to substitute that hormone or make it slow down, I will not be able to calm down. So, for example, I know if my adrenaline would be high, okay, I need to go exercise to get rid of that hormone, right? Does that help as well? That if you know those emotions which are connected to which hormone, and then you attack that hormone to lower down, of course, that's something that helps as well.
That's already a resilience strategy. You know, you realize that you have some sort of emotion. There is some obstacle. That obstacle that triggers some emotion within you, and you learn that you don't want to respond in one way, for example, shouting, but you learned yourself that you are gonna for exercise. So that's already a resilience strategy.
Interesting. You can have a strategy for resilience.
Everybody has a different strategy for how to deal with the obstacle, how to deal with the emotions. One some people explode and they are starting to shout. Some people learn that, okay, mindfulness exercises, for example, they learn mindfulness that, okay, now I'm angry, so I'm gonna relax myself and I'm gonna do some breathing exercises, and that helps. Some people will like, okay, I'm not gonna say anything to that person, but how I deal with this internally, we're gonna talk to my hubby or to my friends about it on beer, and we will be bitching about it on a beer. And then there are also those bad habits that, okay, I have a problem and I'm gonna solve it with alcohol, drugs. That's again sort of a strategy, but not a healthy one. So it's up to us what we want to train, where we want to move, what you want to do, replace for what.
That's so, you know, when you also said like shouting, so Baruch, you should maybe remember me in the time when I was shouting.
Yes, I do. That's not a forgettable thing.
But Collage, you don't remember me that way. So I'm not sure if it's like part of resilience, but maybe this is what I like. So guys, we named this podcast Knowledge Empowers, and we're trying to share with you our own experiences, what we've learned across our years of either career or life, whatever you want to call it. And there were really times that for me, the only way if I wanted to convince someone about something, I immediately raised my voice because I thought that's the only right solution. And I was like 26, 27, etc. Until that one point that changed everything in my life. And that was when our center lead said to me, I see a potential in you to become a manager. And I was shocked, like, what is he even talking about? And he said, but there is a huge path ahead of you, and you will need to change certain behaviors that you have. But he didn't just lay it on me like you need to change certain behaviors. He said, I'm going to help you, and I'll get you to specific education, and I'll deal with every situation you had. What are the potential solutions you could apply? And then he applied me to the school, to the studies, and it just opened, like, I had no idea there could be so many solutions and potentials. And it was literally when I started looking for people like him that I could actually learn from and become a better human being. And then try to also apply the system or apply what I've learned into the practice. And I just can't believe how far I got from that point that those people who do remember me as the shouting person.
It's a huge difference. Huge.
I feel it too, because at that time I had really anger in me, and I felt that anger in me. Nowadays I don't have it. Because the first thing that comes to my mind are potential solutions that I could offer. That wasn't there before. It was just an anger, just an emotion. So sometimes it is about meeting the right people that either motivate you or just share with you the different aspects, different strategies that you can learn and then apply. And then ever since that point, I always seek for these people like from whom I can learn from, and always went for this type of people. Is that also a resilient strategy? I don't know.
What learning, you mean, or what by that?
I think her mindset has changed, right? Like before she wasn't, now she doesn't get into the situations that she would need to be resilient because she looks at it a different way. Like that's how I see it. Like before you would see like, oh my God, there is a problem, I need to shout. And now it's like, oh my God, there is a problem, let's look for a solution. So you don't actually need to feel that you need to be resilient. And that's how I see, like you kind of like remove the need to be resilient in this kind of situations.
I see that you've changed the way how you are dealing with the situation. It doesn't mean that you are not resilient. It means that you are resilient in a different way, or different way how you look at it. So before it was mostly about, okay, so your priorities has changed. Before, it might have been something else. So the shouting was that you didn't know how to handle it or whatever for some reasons. I just can imagine that. But hey, you found a way how to deal with it differently, like with the exercises. So I say that the resiliency has not changed because you are still overcoming the challenge. You are just overcoming it in a different way. Before it was shouting, now it's looking for solutions, which again reflects more your inner values and your mindset, as Boris said. But I don't think that it makes you less resilient, or it just makes you are resilient still, but a different way, in a more, for example, cooperative way.
Kolaj, how do you deal with difficulties? Like, what's your strategy?
It depends. I mean, it again depends from the situation and the obstacle.
Give us example.
Like, for example, anger. Anger is one of the like, you get angry, and I feel like you need to overcome it in some way. So instead of shouting or like Katka said, or exercising, I do the mindfulness part. So when I get angry or somebody is trying to get me angry or shouting on me, I don't reply in the same way. So in order to overcome this challenge, to overcome this effect on me, I try to relax myself. I try to postpone the discussion. I let the person ventilate, and I don't reply in the way to worsen the situation, I would say. Then there are the challenges, or when you need to cooperate with somebody, and like Katka, you look for solutions. Okay, so that's it. Then there are challenges when you can't change something; it's out of your control. So I usually talk to someone, like, oh, we bitch about it because this system is fucked up and we can't change it. So what else? I mean, I can't do anything about it. The person I'm talking to can't do anything about it. It's like, can I influence now about the how the vaccines are being bought? I can't influence that situation. I don't have it under my control. I can only talk about it, and that's it. Basically, that's my resilience strategy. I get it out of my system, and that's it. And what else is there? I try to another effect I like is, for example, during this whole period of time we are really stuck at home. I noticed that, for example, my girlfriend's strategy is to talk about 3 positive things she had during the day to overcome all the negativity, all the impact it has. She's just like, okay, before going to sleep, okay, this is what I'm grateful for. This is what happened during the day, which is great, and I'm really happy about it. And this influences the mindset, the sleep, the effect it has, and it's again a different strategy how to overcome it. So I believe that there is no bad strategy in general. It's just that it's about your values you want to achieve with those. So if it's something you want to collaborate with on somebody, or you just don't care about it, basically you're just letting yourself go. You need to handle it somehow.
I've heard about the strategy of gratefulness, and they said, like, I saw a video about it. I think it was, the channel is called School of Life. It's an amazing channel. Like, I suggest it to everyone. And
we will mention it under.
yeah, of course we will. And they said, like, the only way to be happy is actually be grateful. Like, what's the difference between people that are not happy and that are happy? And they said, like, that's
money.
No, it's that's what they said. It's not it's not money. It's not even success. It's just like gratefulness, being grateful even for the littlest things in your life. I'm not sure if I agree, but that's what they say. If I remember correctly, it should be from this channel.
And
we will link it. Yeah.
And then there is a different study. What makes you happy or makes you grateful is that when you see somebody else who is dealing with the same situation but worse. So in this case, no, that's this Schadenfreude, or when you see somebody who is really having it tougher than you are feeling more grateful and more happy about your situation.
Actually, what a coincidence. Like, I watched the video about sadist yesterday. So yeah, that was they pointed out this.
References.
Or you just look at the puppies and you are happy.
Yeah, the choice is yours.
Yep.
But you know, for me, a little bit of a realization or sort of a retrospective when I first time saw a change in me was when I became a team leader, and those guys remembered me as a shouting person, and we went to cottage for a weekend, and of course when you drink they share things, and they said, you know, Kate, before we were so sort of not even scared with you, but we just didn't want it to even handle with you. So whenever we needed to speak with our project managers, we actually took the other way around the entire floor to go see them, just so we wouldn't have to go around you. And that was like, oh my God, was I like that bad? You know, it did. I don't want to say it hurt, but it was a huge realization, like, what kind of person was I? And now they said they like that I changed and that I do take care of them, etc. They see it, but when they shared it with me, it was like mind blowing, like, oh my God. So because I remember when I received that position, I was actually at my sister in Australia, lying in the bed, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be team leader. OMG. And I literally put myself like, what kind of a team leader do I want to be if I would be team leader to myself? And the first thing came to my mind, I don't want that you will shout at me. So me shouting at myself, hell no, right? What I do want, and I literally sort of created this kind of a list of things, what I would want from my team leader. And that's what once I got back and start working as a team leader, trying to apply immediately. And there were lots of people I needed to convince that I mean it. And it took time, right, to convince them. So that was the hardest part. And then lots of years of practice ahead of me. But it's just unbelievable. But everything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Indeed.
And resilience.
And resilience. So maybe that's how we can end it. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Any final thoughts, guys?
Nope.
Well, then, have a lovely day, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye. Just so you know, this podcast represents our own opinions, experience, and our own ideas. We do not represent any official statement from our employers, and it is not their official channel representing the company.